Welcome back to English Plus Podcast. I'm Danny, and this is the second main episode of our theme for this week, Literature and Us. Last time we wrestled with a very modern question. Why does literature still matter in the age of AI? We talked about how stories are the ultimate engines for empathy, critical thinking, and understanding the human condition. We made the case that in a world of data, literature provides the essential human experience. Today, we're going to get our hands dirty. We're pulling back the curtain and looking at the nuts and bolts of storytelling itself. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. The word literature can be intimidating. I know that. It can conjure up images of dusty, leather-bound books, dense poetry, and complicated academic theories with names you can't pronounce. It can feel like an exclusive club, and if you don't know the secret handshake, well, you're not getting it. Well, I'm here today to tell you that's nonsense. You already know the secret handshake. You're already a member of the club. In fact, you're a charter member. The goal of this episode is to demystify literature by breaking down the universal building blocks of storytelling, the elements that appear in stories across every culture, every continent, and every era. We're going to look at character archetypes, narrative structure, and the handful of core conflicts that fuel every story ever told. And here's the secret. These aren't arbitrary rules invented by stuffy professors. These are the patterns of our own minds. They are hardwired into the very way we think, dream, and communicate. You are a natural-born storyteller. Don't believe me? Think about the last time you told a friend about a terrible date, or a hilarious thing that happened at work, or even just what happened in the movie you saw last night. You didn't just list facts, did you? You shaped the events into a narrative. You set the scene, you introduced the characters, you built up the tension, and you delivered the punchline or the dramatic conclusion. You see? You already get it. Today is just about giving you the vocabulary for what you intuitively know. So let's get started and explore the universal grammar of a good story. I'm Danny, and this is a new episode from English Plus Podcast. Let's start with the most fundamental thing of all. The shape of a story, the plot. Every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Simple enough, right? But over thousands of years, a particular pattern has emerged again and again, so frequently that it seems to be part of our collective human DNA. It was famously identified and named the monomyth, or the hero's journey by the scholar Joseph Campbell. Now don't get hung up on the name. The hero doesn't have to be a superhero with a cape. And the journey isn't always a physical quest across mountains and deserts. This is a journey of transformation. It's a blueprint for how we experience change, growth, and challenge in our lives. You have seen this pattern 1,000 times, in everything from ancient myths to the latest blockbuster movie to the story your grandpa tells about his youth. So let's break down its key stages. First, we have the ordinary world. This is the hero's home, the baseline, life before the adventure begins. It's where we see them in their normal, often boring routine. Think of Luke Skywalker, a bored farm boy on a desert planet staring at the twin suns. Think of Harry Potter living a miserable life in a cupboard under the stairs. Or Bilbo Baggins contentedly smoking his pipe in his comfortable hobbit hole. This stage is crucial because it shows us who the hero is before they are changed. It is the before picture in a before and after shot. It makes the hero relatable. We all have our own ordinary world. Next comes the call to adventure. Something happens that disrupts the ordinary world and presents the hero with a challenge or a quest. Princess Leia's holographic message pops out of R2-D2. A flood of letters arrives from a place called Hogwarts. A wizard and a company of dwarves unexpectedly arrive for dinner. This is the inciting incident, the moment the story's engine truly kicks into gear. But does our hero immediately jump at the chance? Well, rarely. That leads us to the refusal of the call. The hero is scared. They feel inadequate. They have responsibilities at home. Luke complains, "I can't get involved. I've got work to do." Harry is convinced it must be a mistake. Bilbo protests that hobbits are not adventurous folk. This hesitation is what makes the hero human. They have the same fears and doubts, just like us. Just like we do. If they just leaped into danger without a second thought, they wouldn't be nearly as compelling. Now, luckily, our hero isn't left alone. They soon experience meeting the mentor. This is the wise old figure who provides guidance, training, or a crucial piece of equipment. Obi-Wan Kenobi gives Luke his father's lightsaber and teaches him about the Force. Dumbledore provides Harry with cryptic but essential advice. Gandalf gives Bilbo the push he needs to step out the door. The mentor equips the hero for the journey ahead, both practically and psychologically. With the mentor's help, the hero is ready for the next big step, crossing the first threshold. This is the point of no return. The hero leaves their ordinary world behind and enters the special world of the adventure. It's when Luke leaves Tatooine and blasts off into space. It's when Harry steps through the magical barrier onto platform 9 3/4. It's when Neo, in The Matrix, chooses the red pill and wakes up in the real world. Once they cross this line, the old life is gone forever. Now, the middle of the story is made up of tests, allies, and enemies. This is where the hero learns the rules of the new world. They face a series of challenges, each one teaching them something new. They also figure out who they can trust and who they can't. Luke and Obi-Wan meet Han and Chewie in the Mos Eisley Cantina. Harry makes friends with Ron and Hermione and an enemy of Draco Malfoy. This is the part of the story where the hero grows, builds their skills, and forms the team that will help them face the ultimate challenge. The ultimate challenge is the ordeal, or approaching the innermost cave. This is the central crisis of the story where the hero faces their greatest fear. It's often a confrontation with death, either literally or metaphorically. It's Luke, Han, and Leia being crushed in the Death Star's trash compactor. It's Harry confronting Voldemort in the chamber at the end of the Sorcerer's Stone. It's Simba returning to Pride Rock to face his uncle Scar. The hero must use everything they've learned to survive this ordeal. It's the darkest moment. If they survive, they gain the reward. They have seized the sword, so to speak. They have found the treasure, rescued the princess, or gained a new insight or power. Luke rescues Princess Leia. Harry survives his encounter with Voldemort and protects the stone. But the journey isn't over yet. Now comes the road back. This is often a chase sequence, where the hero must flee from the forces they have just defeated, who are now trying to stop them from returning with a reward. The heroes must escape the Death Star. Simba must rally the lionesses for the final battle. Finally, we have the resurrection and the return with the Elixir. The hero faces one last, final test on the threshold of their home world. This is where they have to prove how much they've changed. Luke must use the Force to destroy the Death Star, not just his farm boy skills. And when they finally return, they bring back the Elixir, something to heal their community or share with the world. It could be peace, freedom, wisdom, or love. Luke brings freedom to the galaxy. Harry returns to his friends, having proven that love and courage are stronger than evil. The pattern is everywhere. Finding Nemo? A nervous father, Marlin, is forced out of his ordinary world, the Anemone, by a call to adventure. Nemo is captured. He meets a mentor, which is Dory, well, in her own strange way. He crosses the threshold into the open ocean, faces tests, allies, and enemies, sharks, jellyfish, turtles, confronts his greatest fear in the innermost cave, which is the dentist's office, and returns with the Elixir, his son, and a new sense of courage. It's the structure of so many stories we love because it's the structure of human transformation. Starting a new job, moving to a new country, recovering from an illness, falling in love, they all follow this pattern of leaving a familiar world, facing challenges, and returning changed. It's not a formula, actually. It's just a reflection of us. So, that was about the plot. Now let's talk about the cast of characters. Let's talk about the archetypes. Don't go anywhere. So we have our blueprint for the plot. Now, what about the people who populate it? Now, just like with narrative structure, you'll find that certain types of characters show up again and again in stories from all over the world. The psychologist Carl Jung called these recurring patterns archetypes. Think of archetypes as character templates or blueprints that exist in our collective unconscious. They are the instantly recognizable roles in the human drama. Because we've seen them so many times, our brains use them as a kind of shorthand. When we meet a character who fits an archetype, we already have a set of expectations about their role in the story. This allows the storyteller to build complex characters more efficiently. Now let's look at some of the most common ones. First, obviously, you have the hero. This is the protagonist, the one whose journey we follow. But a hero isn't always a perfect, muscle-bound do-gooder. They are often reluctant, flawed, and uncertain. The key is that they are the one who grows and changes the most. Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games, Frodo Baggins from The Lord of the Rings, even a more morally great character like Walter White from Breaking Bad. They are all the central figures of their journeys. Now, of course, the hero rarely succeeds alone. They often have a mentor whom we've already discussed. The mentor is the wise guide, the teacher. Yoda, Gandalf, Mr. Miyagi from The Karate Kid. They represent the wisdom of the past and help prepare the hero for the future. And to get the adventure started, you often need a herald. Now, this archetype appears near the beginning to announce the need for change or to deliver the call to adventure. The owls delivering Hogwarts letters are heralds. Morpheus offering Neo the red and blue pills is a herald. They are the messengers who kick the story into motion. Now, guarding the entrance to the new world is often a threshold guardian. This character or obstacle tests the hero's commitment. They're not always evil. Sometimes they are neutral figures just doing their job. The bouncers at a club, the intimidating receptionist outside a big interview, or the surly stormtroopers asking for identification in Mos Eisley. They are all threshold guardians who force the hero to prove they are ready to proceed. Now, inside the story, things get complicated. One of the most interesting archetypes is the shapeshifter. This character is difficult to pin down. Their loyalties are uncertain. Their motives are hidden. They might seem to be an ally one moment and an enemy the next. They keep the hero and the audience guessing. Now, the ultimate example is Severus Snape from Harry Potter. Is he good? Is he evil? We don't know for most of the series, and that uncertainty creates immense tension. Catwoman in the Batman stories is another classic shapeshifter. And now, of course, every hero needs a villain. And that role is filled by the Shadow. The Shadow represents the hero's darkest fears and repressed desires. It is the dark side of the hero's own personality. The Joker is the perfect shadow for Batman. Chaos to his order. Darth Vader is not just a villain. He is a cautionary tale of what Luke himself could become if he gives in to anger and fear. A great shadow isn't just someone for the hero to punch. They challenge the hero on a deep, psychological level. Now, to lighten the mood and challenge the status quo, we have the trickster. This character is a mischief maker, a clown, a rule breaker. They often provide comic relief, but they can also serve a deeper purpose by pointing out absurdity and hypocrisy. Captain Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean is a quintessential trickster. So are Loki from Norse mythology, Puck from A Midsummer Night's Dream, and even Bugs Bunny. And finally, we have the hero's trusted friends, the ally or the sidekick. They are the loyal companions who stick with the hero through thick and thin. Ron and Hermione, Samwise Gamgee, Dr. Watson. They provide support, offer different skills, and give the hero someone to talk to, which is very helpful for moving the plot along. Now, think about your own life. You can probably identify these archetypes among the people you know. You've had mentors, like teachers, bosses, or family members who guided you. You've faced shadows, whether that's a rival at work or your own inner critic and self-doubt. You have your loyal allies who make up your support system. We instinctively cast people in these roles because it helps us make sense of our own life, story. When you read a book or watch a film, you're just seeing this fundamental human instinct played out on a grander scale. Now, of course, these are not all the archetypes available and everything about characters. If you want to learn more, you will have to dig a little deeper, right? But that kind of covers the main archetypes. But that's not everything about today. We're still going to talk about a very important thing, of course. We're going to talk about conflicts, the fuel of the fire. That's coming next, don't go anywhere. So, we have a structure for a story and a cast of characters. Now, what actually makes a story move? Now, the answer is conflict. A story without conflict is just a description of a series of events. The man walked down the street. He bought a newspaper. He went home. It's boring. Conflict is the engine. It's the friction that creates drama, tension, and meaning. Now, the good news is that for all the millions of stories in the world, they almost all boil down to a handful of fundamental conflicts. Understanding them is like having a master key to unlock any plot. Now, the most intimate and often most powerful is human versus self. This is an internal conflict. The character's struggle is with their own mind, their own fears, their own flaws, or a difficult decision they must make. Shakespeare's Hamlet is the classic example, paralyzed by indecision and doubt. A character battling addiction, a soldier grappling with PTSD, or someone trying to overcome a deep-seated fear. These are all stories driven by internal conflict. It's the battle for one's own soul. Now, the most common conflict is human versus human. Now, this is the classic protagonist against the antagonist. One person wants something and another person is standing in their way. Batman versus the Joker, Harry Potter versus Voldemort, Elizabeth Bennet versus the proud and infuriating Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice. This conflict is the foundation of most dramas, thrillers, and mysteries. Now, sometimes the antagonist isn't a single person, but the whole system. This is human versus society. Here, the protagonist is fighting against the norms, traditions, or laws of their community or government. In The Hunger Games, Katniss Everdeen isn't just fighting the other tributes. She's fighting the entire oppressive system of the Capitol. In To Kill a Mockingbird, Atticus Finch stands against the ingrained racism of his society. These stories are about rebellion, justice, and the courage it takes to stand alone against the crowd. And then we have the elemental struggle of human versus nature. Now, this pits the character against the forces of the natural world. A storm, a wild animal, a harsh environment. Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea, where a fisherman battles a giant marlin and then the sharks, is a perfect example. So are movies like Jaws or The Revenant. These stories explore themes of survival, human resilience, and our place in the natural order. Now, going beyond the natural world, we find human versus supernatural. Well, this is the struggle against forces that are beyond human understanding. Gods, monsters, ghosts, or fate itself. The ancient Greek tragedies like Oedipus Rex are often about the futility of fighting against a predetermined destiny. Most horror stories, like Stephen King's It or Bram Stoker's Dracula, fall into this category. It's a conflict that taps into our deepest fears of the unknown. And finally, a conflict that has become increasingly relevant in our modern era is human versus technology. Now, this is the story of humanity struggling against its own creations. The Terminator series, The Matrix, and many episodes of Black Mirror explore our anxieties about artificial intelligence, automation, and the ways technology can control or dehumanize us. It's a conflict that asks what it means to be human in a world of ever smarter machines. Now, almost any story you can think of will be built around one or more of these core conflicts. Often a great story will weave several of them together. Star Wars is human versus human, Luke versus Vader, but it's also human versus society. the rebellion versus the empire. And it even contains a human versus self conflict as Luke struggles not to give in to the dark side. Recognizing these conflicts gives you a powerful tool to analyze what a story is really about beneath the surface plot. So let's put it all together. The hero's journey provides the blueprint. The archetypes provide the cast. And the foundational conflicts provide the engine. This is the universal grammar of storytelling. And my point today is that you are already fluent in this language. You didn't need to be taught it in a classroom. You learned it from the fairy tales you heard as a child, from the movies you watched, from the gossip you shared with friends, and from the way you've narrated the events of your own life to yourself. These patterns, the journey of transformation, the recurring character roles, the fundamental struggles, are not just literary devices. They are sense-making devices. They are the tools we use to organize the chaotic data of human experience into a meaningful narrative. We tell stories to understand ourselves, to understand our world, and to connect with each other. So, the next time you pick up a book or settle in to watch a movie, I encourage you to look for these elements. Don't worry, it won't ruin the magic. It's like learning a bit of music theory. You can still get swept away by a beautiful symphony, but now you can also appreciate the genius of the chord progression and the elegance of the structure. It adds a new layer of appreciation. You get to see the artist's craft and marvel at how they use these universal tools to create something unique and powerful. More importantly, I hope this makes the world of literature feel less like a fortress and more like a home. You belong here. The stories on the shelf are not foreign to you. They are echoes of the stories already inside you. So here's a final thought to leave you with. What is the story you are telling about your own life right now? What is your ordinary world? What call to adventure are you perhaps refusing? Who are your mentors and allies? What is the central conflict you are trying to resolve? Viewing your own life through this lens can be a powerful way to gain perspective, find meaning, and maybe, just maybe, figure out what the next chapter should be. Well, that's our time for today, my friends. Thank you for joining me on this look behind the curtain of storytelling. Next time, we're going to focus more on how to speak about literature, how to talk about it. Until then, this is Danny from English Plus Podcast. Thank you very much for joining me today. Take care and happy reading. And remember, never stop learning with English Plus Podcast.